So as I said before, please do not leave before I take the roll. If you're not sure, just ask me. There are a couple of things I want to talk about before we start the section today. Um, One thing is we only have class on Wednesday, that is today for this week, so we don't have class on Friday. So that means we're going to have class on next Monday. All right. So instead of taking the quiz um, on next Monday, uh, I think I will move it to next Wednesday. So I guess you just took the quiz on Monday, right? Did you? So the next quiz will be next Wednesday, and then we're going to have another class on Friday, on next Friday. Okay, not this Friday. We don't have class on this Friday, and we're gonna have the technical test 2, in the week after next, the Monday after next. That'll be test 2, the next test. So just like before, I'm not going to cover any new material on next Friday. I just answer questions from students next Friday. So you're gonna take the next quiz on next Wednesday, and then take the second test in the week of next on Monday. So that's my plan. I received some students asking about these. Sometimes they didn't do quite well. Do not worry too much about this. If the whole class did not do well in the quiz or test, I will consider to curve it at the end of the semester. Okay. So I um, I will consider those factors, and may change the problems next time. But I'm not considering to change the time. It will be always 15 for a quiz and 15 minutes for a quiz and 50 minutes for a test. But I can adjust the problems, I may give a little fewer problems next time, for example, and I will consider curve at the end of the semester. So do not worry too much about that. So that's that. If you don't have, if you have not done any quizzes or tests, please by Xcode, the sync code real quick and start them up. We're already in the middle of this semester, so you need to speed up. And for the people who need to make up, you can make up the quiz test you missed, and you're going to get 10% off for each one you make up. But you cannot retake any test or quiz. If you think there was a problem with the computer or software or the system, and please call Cengage Technical Support and request them to send me an email for confirmation of the problem, okay, you had for the system. When you try to make up any test or quiz, please call my cell number I gave you before, and then get ready for everything, including website. Log into website and call me, and then I can arrange it for you immediately. Okay, you're gonna get the same amount of time as others for the quiz or test. All right. So these are a few things I want to talk about before we we do the class today. So we were in 1.3, as I just checked. We finished a few examples last time. I think we did maybe half of them. Yes. So we finished this you know flying problem. Let's do the next one. So we are doing all the word problems in this section. Okay, it's called using mathematic models. Basically, we just use mathematics to solve real world problems. Okay, let's see what this example in here. It says you measure the shadow cast by building and find it to be 55 feet long. Okay, so that's the shadow by the sunshine, and it is 55 feet long of the building. And then you measure the shadow cast by 4-foot post and it to be 1.8 feet long. So you want to determine the building's height. So this is one of the ways to find out the height of a building or a tree, especially when it is hard to measure directly. And so you find just the reference post, and um, you know the height of the post, and you measure um, the shadow by the sunshine for the post, and then you can make a proportion for the post and the building with the shadow. So the model, or verbal model, will be the height of the building over the length of the building's shadow is equal to the height of the post over the length of the post's shadow, because you got the same sunshine. All right. So the higher the building is, the longer the shadow will be, and it's proportional. The shadow of a building is proportional to the height. Okay, so that's why you have this proportion. So again, what we are trying to find is the building's height. So we usually set that to be the variable x. So the height of the building x over the shadow of the building, which is 55, is equal to the height of the post, which is 4 over the length of the post's shadow, which is 1.8. Okay, so then you do the cross multiply for proportion. Okay, remember that's the rule. So you get 1.8 times x equal to 4 times 55, and 455 is just 210 if you do it. So to solve for x, just divide by 1.8 on both sides of the equation. So you get the 4 times 50 over 1.8, and that's about 122 feet. So that's the height of the building you want to find. Any questions for this problem? Yes, the one. Are you raising your hand? Yeah, just ask me if you have any questions, or you can tap and can read it. If there is no question, then we move to the next example. Okay, so this is about interest. Um, so if you have some accounts in banks, then you want to find how much interest you make, and you want to have a good plan for your investment in the stocks or banks. So in this example, you have two accounts in the bank, and you have a total of $10,000 at hand, and that's called the principal that you need to uh, deposit. Okay, and the two interest rates for the two accounts are 4.5% and 5.5%. That's pretty high. Okay, so and then after a year, um, The two accounts earned $508.75. So that's the total interest you make from the two accounts with different interest rate, with the total amount of $10,000 of the principal. We call it principal, okay, the deposit. So the question is, how much did you invest in each account originally? Okay, the verbal model here is the interest from each account add up to get the interest in total. Okay, so you got the interest from 4.5% account plus the interest from the 5.5% account. That gives you the total interest in 1 year. So again, you assign the variable x to the question asked in the problem. We need to find how much you deposit in each account. So you can assign the variable x to be either account to be the principal to the deposit in either account. For example, if we assume x to be the deposit in the account of 4.5% interest rate, then the other principal or deposit in 5.5% interest rate account will be 10,000 minus x, because the total deposits in the two accounts are $10,000, right? If you, for example, if you deposit $2,000 in the account of 4.5% rate, then the remaining, which is 8,000, will be in 5.5% rate account, or 10,000 minus 2,000. Okay, so we don't know how much you deposit in each account, so we just use x for the deposit in one account, and the other one has to be 10,000, the total minus x. Okay, so then you can calculate the interest from each account by multiplying the deposit or principal with the interest rate. So x is the deposit in the 4.5% rate account. So you multiply this x, the deposit, with the interest rate 4.5. You get the interest from the account in the 4.5% rate account. And then similarly, you multiply the deposit in the other account with 10,000 minus x times the interest rate for the other account, which is 5.5%. So you get the interest rate for the other account. And you add them up, you get the $508.75 for the whole year. All right. This 4.5 and the 5.5 or annual interest rate. Okay. So so the first thing to do to solve this equation is to convert the percents into decimals. 4.5%, is 4.5 over 100, and that will give you 0.045. Similarly, 5.5% is just 5.5 over 100, which is 0.055. Okay, so then you just distribute 0.055 in 10,000 and the x. So you get the 550 minus 0.055x if you do that, and you still get this first term of 0.045x in the front to add. So you get the 0.045x plus 550 minus 0.055x equals 508.75. So you can combine like terms, but just move 550 to the right, it becomes negative. And then you combine 0.045x with negative 0.055x, you get negative 0.01x. And 508.75 minus 550 is just the negative 41.05. So to solve for x, you just divide by negative 0.01 on both sides, and you're going to get the x equal to $4,125. So that was the deposit or the amount you put in the account with 4.5 interest rate. And the remaining part of the $10,000 will be just the 58.75 if you subtract the 41.25 from 10,000, and that's the deposit you put in the 5.5 interest rate account. Okay. Any questions for this example? Okay. If there's no question, then let's move to the next example. All right. So this example has some commercial products, DVD players. There are two types of DVD players. One is the single disc DVD players, and the other is the multi-disc DVD players. And you have a total of 30,000, in the store. And then the profit for each tab, and you need to find how much was in each tab in store. Okay. So a store has $30,000 of inventory in single disc DVD players and multi-disc DVD players. The profit on a single disc player, DVD player is 24%. So you make 24% of profit from the single disc DVD players. And the profit on a multi-disc player is 42%. So you make a little more in the multi-disc DVD players. Okay, the profit is pretty high, you can see. Okay, at the end, in total or in general, the profit on the entire store is 36%. So you get the profit of 36% from selling both types of DVD players. So the question is, how much was invested in each tab? Okay, so you get the one type of DVD players with a lower profit, and another type of DVD players with a higher profit. And at the end, the overall profit is something in between 36%. Okay, so the question is, how much did you have in store for each type of the DVD players? All right. So the verbal model here is obviously you add the profit from each type of the DVD players, so you get the total profit in the store. So profit from single disc players plus the profit from multi-disc players is equal to the total profit. Okay. Just like before, whatever the question is asked, you just assign that as x, the variable x. So we need to find the numbers of DVD players for the two types. So you can either assign x to be the number of DVD players in store for single disc, or to be the multi-disc DVD players. So for example, if we let x be the numbers of single disc DVD players, then the remaining part will be the multi-disc DVD players, because the total is $30,000 for the two tabs. So you just multiply it and subtract X from 30,000 to get the money or amount, not the number, I'm sorry, the amount of the value for the multi-disc DVD players. So X is the value or amount of money for the single disc DVD players in store. So to find the profit of each type of DVD players, you just multiply the value, total value of each type by the profit percentage. So X is the total value for the single disc DVD players. You multiply X with the profit for this type of players, 24%. So you get the total profit for the single disc DVD players. And then similarly, you multiply the total value for the multi-disc DVD players, which is 30,000 minus X, with the profit, which is 42%. You get the total profit from the multi-disc DVD players. Okay, and that'll be equal to the total profit. Remember, the overall profit is 36%. So that means out of the $30,000, you get 36% as the profit. So the total profit will be just $30,000 multiplied by 36%, the overall profit rate. Okay. Again, to solve this equation, you have to convert the percents into decimals. 24% is just 0.24, which is also 24 over 100 if you like. And 42% is just 42 over 100. So that would be 0.42. Similarly, 36% is 36 over 100, which is 0.36. So you got the equation of x times 0.24 plus 30,000 minus x times 0.42 equals 30,000 times 0.36. So you just distribute the 0.42 with 30,000 and x. So you get a 1260 100 minus 0.42x, and you still have 0.24x in the front, on the left side, and on the right side, 30,000 times 0.36 just give you 10,800. So then you can just combine like terms by subtracting 600 on both sides, and then you subtract 0.24x minus 0.42x, you get a negative 0.18x on the left. On the right, 10,800 minus 1260 600 gives you a negative 1800. So then you just divide negative 0.18 on both sides to solve the x, and what you get is just the $10,000 for x, and remember x is the value or total value of the single DVD players. So that's $10,000. The remaining part, which is $30,000 minus $10,000, which is $20,000, is the total value for the multi-disc DVD players. Okay, so this for this example. Any questions for this problem? If there's no question, then we just move on to the next 1.4. Okay. So I'm just uploading the file and please wait. Okay, so I got it. So 1.4 is quadratic equations and applications. Okay. So everybody knows what the quadratic equation is. X squared plus bx plus c equal to 0. And we have different methods to solve a quadratic equation. And the first method is called solving quadratic equations by factoring. So you put all the terms, everything on the left, and leave 0 on the right side of the equation and the factor on the left, and then solve it. So for example, if we want to solve the quadratic equation by factoring for this equation of 2x squared plus 9x plus 7 equal to 3, the first step is move 3 to the left, and it becomes negative 3, and then 7 minus 3 is just 4 on the left. So you get 2x squared plus 9x plus 4 equal to 0, and then you can factor the left hand side by 3 steps. And this is called factoring by grouping. Okay, there is a standard procedure to factor trinomial like this. You do it by 3 steps. Step 1, multiply the leading coefficient, which is 2 in this example. That's the coefficient for x squared. Okay, with the constant, which is 4 in this example. So 2 times 4 is 8. And that's step 1. Step 2, find the two numbers so that when you multiply them, you get 8. When you add them, you get 9, which is the coefficient for the linear term in the equation. Okay. And it turns out these two numbers are 8 and 8, 8 and 1. So if you multiply 8 and 1, you get 8, and if you add 8 and 1, you get 9. So step 3, you're going to use those two numbers found in step 2, 8 and 1, to split the linear term in the equation 9x. So you just rewrite 2x squared plus 9x plus 4 as 2x squared plus 8x plus x plus 4. So you can see we rewrite 9x as 8x plus x using the two numbers 8 and 1 in this step 2. And then you just factor each group separately. So you can factor 2x from the first group to get 2x times x plus 4. That's 2x squared plus 8x, right? And you don't factor anything from x plus 4, the second group. And then you can see there is a common factor of x plus 4 in the two groups that you can factor out. And if you do that, what is left? It's just 2x plus 1. Okay. Remember, when you factor x plus 4 from x plus 4, you get 1. So then you factor the whole thing like this. Now, I'll just solve this equation, by setting each factor equal to 0. So we get x plus 4 equal to 0, and 2x plus 1 equal to 0. And you can easily solve these two equations to get x equal to negative 4 and negative 1/2 if you move 1 to the right and divide by 2 for this second sub equation. So there are two solutions to this quadratic equation, negative 4 and negative 1/2. So this is solve quadratic equations by factoring. Any questions for this method? No. Okay. Let's do another example. This one is simpler, actually. We need to solve the equation of x squared minus 3x equal to 0. Obviously, you can factor 3x from both terms. When you factor, remember, when you factor polynomial, the first thing to do is to factor common factors, the greatest common factor from each term. And this will be 3x in this example. So if you do that, you factor 3x in both terms, you're going to get 2x from 6x squared and 1 from 3x again. So you get 3x times 2x minus 1, and then you just set each factor equal to 0 to solve the equations. So you get 3x equal to 0 and 2x minus 1, and that gives you x equal to 0 or x equal to half if you move 1 to the right by 2 in the second sub-equation. So again, we got two solutions, 0 and half in this example. Any questions for this example? Nope. The next. Okay, and the next example is solving quadratic equation by extracting square roots. So that's another method, the second method of solving quadratic equations. You can just simply take a square root to solve an equation, basically. Like in this example, 3x squared equal to 36. Before you do that, remember, get a coefficient for x squared to 1 by dividing by 3 on both sides. So you get x squared equal to 12. And then you can take the root of 12 to get plus or minus square root of 12. Okay, always get two solutions when you take the square root. And you can simplify the answer by factoring 12 by 4 and 3, and then the square root of 4 is just 2. So you get the final solution of plus or minus 2 times square root of 3. All right? So that's the first example. And another example is x minus 1 squared equal to 10. You can also solve this equation by extracting the square root. So you take the square root on both sides. Okay, you don't FOIL the left hand side. You take square root directly. So you get x minus 1 on the left, and on the right hand side, you get the plus or minus of square root 10 when you take the square root. And then you just move 1 to the right to get the two solutions for x to be 1 plus or minus square root 10. Okay. So one solution is 1 plus square root 10, and the other solution is 1 minus square root 10. Good. So that's extracting square roots. Okay, the next method is called completing the square, and this one is a little tricky. Again, we're going to do this step by step. Typically, there are 3 steps involved. Okay, let's just talk about the example of solving the equation of x squared plus 2x minus 6 equal to 0 by completing the square. So you can see it's hard to factor the left-hand side, and you can actually not take in the square root to solve this equation. So let's try to complete the square in this problem. So the very first step in this example is to move the constant to the right. So this is different from the other math. You have to move the constant to the right to complete the square, or solve the equation by completing the square. And then you divide the coefficient of the linear term on the left, which is 2x, or 2. The coefficient linear term is 2. So divide 2 by 2, so you get 1. And then you take the square root, then you take a square of it. So 1 squared is 1. Then you add this number 1 in step 1. The number you get in the first step on both sides of the equation. So we got x squared plus 2x plus 1 equal to 6 plus 1. And then you factor the left side, which is x plus 1 squared if you do that. And then take the square root, or extracting square roots to solve this equation. So x plus 1 squared equal to 7, 6 plus 1 is just 7. So you take a square root on both sides, so you get x plus 1 equal to plus minus square root of 7. Right? Again, just move 1 to the right to get negative 1 plus or minus square root of 7. This is the solution for this example. All right? So that's taking the square root. One more example. So in this example, we need to solve 2x squared minus 4x plus 1 equal to 0 by completing the square. So again, the very first step, so move the constant to term on the right. So move on to the right, it becomes -1. So 2x squared minus 4x equal to -1. And there is an additional thing we need to do in this example. That is, you need to divide 2 on both sides of the equation now to make the coefficient of x squared, the leading term, to 1. Okay. So if you divide by 2 for each term in the equation, then you get x squared minus 2x equals -half. Okay. And then you just do the 3 steps like we did in the previous example. So you divide the coefficient of the linear term of the left. The linear term is -2x. So coefficient of the linear term is -2. Divide the -2 by 2 and square it. So -2 over 2 is just -1. You square -1, you get 1. And then you add this number 1 on both sides of the equation. So you get x squared minus 2x plus 1 equal to -half plus 1. Okay, -half plus 1 is just half if you do it. And then factor the left hand side, the x squared minus 2x plus 1, you get x minus 1 squared this time. So you get x minus 1 squared equal to half. Then you take the root on both sides. Again, you get x minus 1 on the left, and on the right, you get the plus or minus square root 1/2. And then you just move 1 to the right to get the solution. So x will be 1 plus or minus square root 1/2. All right? Any questions? So that's solving a quadratic equation by completing the square. Okay, let's do one more example. Because this kind of method is a little tricky. So we need to solve 3x squared minus 4x minus 5 equal to 0 by completing the square in this example. Again, very first step is move 5 to the right. Okay, so you got 3x squared minus 4x equal to 5, and then dividing by 3 on both sides of the equation to make the leading coefficient to 1, the coefficient for x squared. So when you do that, huh? What's your question? Hello? What's your question? So you divide by 3 on both sides of the equation for each term. Then you get x squared minus 4x over 3 equal to 5 over 3. And then do the 3 steps again. You divide the coefficient of the linear term on the left, which is -4 over 3. Excuse me. I'm sorry. So no, we have not finished yet. -4 over 3 divided by 2 is just the -4 over 3 times 1/2. If you simplify it, you get the -3 and 2 over 3. You square that, you get 4 over 9. And then you add the number 4 over 9 on both sides with the equation. You get x squared minus 4 over 3x plus 4 over 9 equal to 5 over 3 plus 4 over 9. Okay. And 5 over 3 plus 4 over 9 on the right, you can add it by using the least common denominator, 9. Rewrite 5 over 3 as 15 over 9, and then you add the numerator 15 plus 4, so you get the 19 over 9 on the right. On the left, you can factor it by x minus 2 over 3. You can double check that by yourself at home, and then you just take the square root on both sides. You get the x minus 2 over 3 on the left, and the plus or minus square root of 19 over 9 on the right. So you move. Okay, one more step. I understand. Move 2 over 3 on to the right, and then you can also take the root of 9 in the square root of 19 over 9 to get the square root of 19 over 3. So the answer for the problem is 2 over 3 plus or minus square root of 19 over 3. So this is solution for this problem. So we have one more page slide to do, and we're going to do it on next Monday. Okay. So this is the end of class for today. Any questions at this point? Let me just take the row and stop the recording now.